What is up, fellow nerds, and welcome back to the Dapper Snapper Gaming channel, and welcome back to How Do I Want to Do This. This is our series where we take a look at all playable options available to players in Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, then we rank them on a scale of 1 to 10 and either build them or fix them depending on how they rank. Now today we finish up our talks on the Graviturgy Wizard, the second and final installation in the Wildemount book, and we are looking forward to a fun build. But before we do that, make sure to leave a like on the video and subscribe if you haven't already. We are still very close to our goal of 5,000 subscribers. We didn't quite get it in 2024, but we are looking forward to getting it now in 2025. And I've gotten a couple suggestions, but let me know down in the comments below what you would like to see as a 5,000 subscriber special. I am very much looking forward to that milestone, so thank you all so much for your support. Another great way to support the channel is by becoming a member down below. By clicking that join button down there, you can become a member of the channel, and you get access to all of my build guides, subclass fixes, all that good stuff, all those in some nice little documents for you to keep, use at your table, whatever it happens to be. And that is a great way for me to give back to you and for you all to support me in what I do here. So yeah, the Graviturgy Wizard is cool. It didn't rank the highest. Of course, we talked about it earlier this week. I'll put that up in the act card above, but it's still not bad at all. It's definitely usable. And I think that it's something that you have to just be a little intentional about what type of role it fills in the party. And that's not a bad thing, right? Wizards are very, very versatile. And so if we can shoehorn this into a certain role in the party that is honestly not that unnatural, I think that this can do some pretty decent work, so we're going to go ahead and show that off. Of course, here are the rules like always, and so of course if something looks different at your table than it does here, then you may need to make some slight adjustments, but either way, here we go. We start off with our race, and I'm going with one that we haven't talked about in a little while. It's not been that long, I guess, but the Earth Genasi makes a lot of sense here for me. Not only does the Earth Genasi want to stay on the ground, which, you know, with Graviturgy Wizard, that's what you're wanting to do, but you also get the Merge with Stone feature, which really helps you being a wizard, being able to bonus action cast Blade Ward to give yourself a little bit more survivability, always going to be a really good thing. We also grab things like Dark Vision and Earthwalk on top of that, which are also really, really useful and thematically make a lot of sense here. We also, of course, are going to get a +2 and +1 to stats, or 3 +1s as of the Mordenkainen's book. And so speaking of those stats, we're going to go ahead and start with that. We're going to put our top stat into our intelligence, our second highest into constitution, our third into dexterity, and then fourth into wisdom. After that, it does not matter. We don't need strength. We don't need charisma. It's do whatever you want with those. And we're going to go with the +2 +1 option this time around. And so +2, we're going to go in intelligence, and +1 in dexterity. Go ahead and get that dexterity to an even number, and we can leave that intelligence odd for now, and we will fix that just a bit later. As far as equipment goes, we really don't need anything. We're going to be going straight 20 levels in Wizard, like what we've been doing a lot during the Wizard series. There's just usually not a huge reason to multi-class, but we will talk about some multi-classing options at the very end with the honorable mentions, so make sure to check out those at the end. So of course, level 1, that makes us a Wizard 1, and we're going to get Spellcasting and Arcane Recovery. Now, if you have any questions about what the general Wizard features do, I have a video of going over all of that up in the icard above, so make sure to check that out as well. But Arcane Recovery lets us get back some spell slots, which is really good. Spellcasting, of course, gives us our spells, which is great. And so for cantrips, things like Firebolt and Prestidigitation make a lot of sense. Now, the next one I'm going to mention is one that I can really only mention on this one and the Chronergist, which is Sapping Sting. Now, this is a Dunamancy cantrip. Now, these two are considered Dunamancers. It's a type of magic that comes from the Wildemount book. And so Sapping Sting falls into that type. However, at level 1, you technically have not taken your subclass yet, so kind of a weird thing. This is something to talk to your DM about. Personally, for me, if I have the intention of going with the Graviturgist, taking Sapping Sting makes a lot of sense here, and so that's something that I would allow, but that is something to talk to your DM about as to whether or not that is okay. Then for first level spells, we have a similar conundrum after we take the shield and the silvery barbs. We have Magnify Gravity. Now, Magnify Gravity is incredibly thematic, and it's actually a really good first level spell. It's a nice little blaster spell, nice little bit of control baked in there. Really, really cool. And then I would also grab Earth Tremor. But again, Magnify Gravity is a Dunamancy spell. Technically, you have access to it as a Graviturgy Wizard. However, you aren't a Graviturgy Wizard yet until level 2. So talk to your DM about whether or not it's allowed to take it here at level 1. If not, take it at level 2, just depending on how that works out. But just that's a conversation to have with your DM. At Wizard 2, we get Adjust Density, which is really cool. Again, we talked about this earlier this week, so if you haven't seen that video, make sure to look at that. But Adjust Density is interesting, being able to make things heavier or lighter, which technically is not the definition of density, but oh well. It's interesting because this feature is also a little clunky in the wording in how it affects objects that are being worn or carried. And again, that is a conversation with your DM because there's not really a great way of handling that, at least as written. So there's going to be a little bit of interpretation there for you. At Wizard 3, we get cantrip formulas. So if you need to switch out a cantrip, so if your Sapping Sting wasn't allowed earlier and now it is, go ahead and grab that. It's not a bad cantrip at all. And we also get second level spells here. I would grab things like Misty Step, Web, Hold Person, and Immovable Object, yet another Dunamancy spell. I think that all of these make a lot of sense. Now, Web is cool, and this kind of shows where we're going with this. This type of wizard really makes a lot of sense as a battlefield controller, the one that is laying down these big spells. Of course, you can start bouncing people around once we get Gravity Well here in a couple of levels, and it's really cool. But Immovable Object makes sense. Web makes sense because we can, of course, move people around with Magnify Gravity and then combo that into Web, which is pretty cool. There's a lot of really cool implications that you can work out in combination with some of these spells. So definitely look into those. We've of course got Wizard 4 coming up after that, and I'm going to grab Warcaster. Warcaster makes way too much sense here. We're going to be concentrating on a spell almost all the time, and so we definitely want to be maintaining that concentration, and this helps out with that. It of course allows us to make opportunity attacks with spells, which we normally could not do, and that helps out a lot because we're not going to be carrying a weapon because there's not really a reason to. At Wizard 5, we get no features, but we do get third level spells. Counterspell, Hypnotic Pattern make a lot of sense. There's also Pulse Wave, which is another Dunamancy spell. I will say that it's not as good as Immovable Object and Magnify Gravity, but it's not bad, and it makes a lot of sense here on a thematic basis. At Wizard 6, we get Gravity Well. Of course, this allows us to bounce people around as we hit them, which definitely is really cool. So if you have the AoE type of spells, we can start moving people around or push them into other people's spells. If you've got other spellcasters in your party, there's a lot of really good implications about how this feature can work. I really like it a lot. So definitely consider doing that. Then Wizard 7, we get no features, but we get 4th level spells, and of course Banishment makes a ton of sense. Polymorph, duh, and even Sickening Radiance. Now this is one I normally don't go for, but Sickening Radiance actually I think makes a lot of sense on this particular build as a kind of control type of thing, in how it adds exhaustion to creatures, and just how exhaustion, that first level of exhaustion, is kind of gnarly. So this is definitely usable, and I think it can definitely work with this type of a character. At Wizard 8, we get a feat, or ASI, and I'm going to go with Telekinetic. Telekinetic makes a lot of sense because we now get to bump that intelligence score, and it gives us another way to push people around as a bonus action. So we can move them around with the spells we cast on our action and move them around as a bonus action. So definitely is really cool. A lot of forced movement is going to be a great thing, both for you and against your enemies, which is great. At Wizard 9, no features, but we do get 5th level spells, and of course Wall of Force and Cloud Kill make a lot of sense here. Again, Cloud Kill to force those saving throws, and Wall of Force because it's Wall of Force. Why would you not want it, right? Then we've got Wizard 10, Violent Attraction. This feature's okay. I don't think it's the best thing out there, but it's not the worst. So we can definitely find use around that, but I'm definitely not building around it either. Then we've got the Wizard 11, no features, but we do get 6th level spells. Move Earth makes sense, again, at least thematically, and Gravity Fissure, another Dunamancy spell. It's kind of like Lightning Bolt, although I would say it's probably not as good generally as Lightning Bolt, but it's not too bad. So definitely could be an interesting way of dealing damage in a line, or at least near the line. So at least consider it. We've got Wizard 12, and I'm going to grab Resilient Constitution here. That is going to give us the proficiency in Constitution saving throws. So our concentration checks are even better now, which is fantastic. So definitely want to pick that up. And it of course is going to fix that odd numbered Constitution as well. So I like that. Wizard 13, no features, but we do get 7th level spells. spells, and reverse gravity. Duh, gotta take that. And prismatic spray makes a lot of sense as our other possible option. Wizard 14, we get Event Horizon. Again, another unique feature to the Graviturgy Wizard. I think this feature's fine. I just think it comes on a little late for what it is, but still not bad at all. Then Wizard 15, no features, but we do get 8th level spells. Telepathy and Dark Star make a lot of sense. Telepathy, more so for the theming. Dark Star, because it's a Dunamancy Graviturgy spell, which is really cool. It's, again, I wouldn't say that it's the best spell necessarily on the 8th level list, but still, thematically speaking, makes a lot of sense. And then Wizard 16, we get an ASI or feat. I'm just going to bump Constitution. That makes a lot of sense to me. And Wizard 17 comes with no features, but 9th level spells. Ravenous Void, again, is kind of your capstone Graviturgy spell. It's strong. It's really strong. It's not Wish, but then again, nothing is. So you could go with that. Maybe even Mass Polymorph if you wanted to. Any of those are gonna work out for you. Then Wizard 18, we get Spell Mastery. So of course we get a 1st level and 2nd level spell that we get to add to this list. And I would either go with Shield or Magnify Gravity, most likely Shield, and then Misty Step for my 2nd level spell. And Wizard 19 comes with a bonus to our Constitution, again with another ASI there. And finally, Wizard 20, we get Signature Spells, and of course Counterspell is going to be my main go-to, and the other one is kind of pick your favorite. It could be Hypnotic Pattern. That's probably the next best one, but I'm sure there are some other options on there that work just as good. So that's our build for today. Let me know what you thought down below. Of course, we've got some honorable mentions to go through before we go for the day, and for other racial options, the gnome makes a lot of sense. Of course, gnomes make great wizards, but again, being that resistant to other spellcasters with your ability to have advantage on those saving throws incoming is just really, really good. Gnomes are just strong in general, and so here it just works even better. And the other one I would actually mention is the Tiefling. I don't really mention the Tiefling a lot because generally speaking, it's more of a flavor piece than a mechanical piece, but here I think it works in both ways. And so definitely would go consider that. For other feat options, I would go with Fey Touched possibly. This of course would give you the Misty Step and one other spell, which is really good, as well as that +1 in intelligence. And Metamagic Adept is the other one I would mention here. Being able to quicken spells definitely makes a lot of sense here, and I would very much like to do that. So that way you could quicken something and then cast a cantrip and go from there. So definitely could be really cool on that. And finally, other class options. Artificer, duh. Artificer is kind of the go-to. You drop 1 level in it and then you go with Wizard for the rest of the way. Gives you some armor proficiency, gives you Constitution saving throw, that kind of thing. There's a lot of good stuff about that. Just that's kind of generic, right? The other one is the War Cleric, again giving us armor proficiency, that kind of thing, but also access to some really interesting spells from the cleric list that you don't necessarily have to have a high wisdom for, but you'd have to make sure you have at least a 13 wisdom in order to qualify for such multi-classing. So that is all for today's video. I hope you all enjoy. I believe we've got about 5 more videos, or 5 more weeks rather, before we are done with Wizard, and then we are moving on to 2024. Really, really good stuff. I thank you all so much for sticking with me through us finishing out this series, and I'm looking forward to all of the future things that are in store for the channel. So until next time, stay safe out there, stay healthy. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.